Welcome to the city of Fairhaven.
Hi, this is Tim Weaver from CVG and I'm here with Alex Dale. How you doing, Alex?
Hey, not too bad. I mean, I'm covering for Ben who reviewed it because he's got whiplash from all the crashes.
He has, yeah. Yeah, he couldn't make it. It's just a really bad neck. So tell us about Need for Speed Most Wanted, Alex. You reviewed it for our sister publication, Games Master, and you've had your say on it. And I think actually, as it turns out, handily, you pretty much concur with what Ben said in his review.
I do, yeah. I mean, this is Criterion's second attempt at doing an open world racing game. Burnout Paradise, which was released about 4 years ago now, was a very slickly put together open world racer, but it had a few flaws that they've tried to iron out. They have and they haven't. I mean, it's certainly a lot smoother. There's a lot less wasted motion in this year's game. Sort of, you do everything on the fly. You add nitrous and change your tyres. So if you're going off-road, you can quickly change to off-road tyres, and it's all slick once you get the hang of it. But the problem Ben had with it is one that I agree with as well, is that it's got the same problem Criterion's races have always had, is that it completely sets you up to crash all the time. You can look at it now, it's a very cluttered sort of environment you're going around in. There are sort of sharp corners, and you crash a lot, and it does get frustrating after a while because it's not always your fault. And another problem I had with it is that it's got some of the worst catch-up AI ever. That is to say that for 90% of the race, it doesn't matter what you do, you can always salvage it. It's all about who goes into the final bends in front, basically.
Okay. So let's talk about those crashes. So I think that was like one of Ben's major bugbears with this game. So as you say, in Criterion races generally they do crashes extremely well, but in this one, because the tracks aren't, is it because the tracks aren't necessarily, or rather the world isn't necessarily set up like a track, it's more set up like a city, as weird as that sounds?
Well, they've done a better job of that with Burnout Paradise. They had sort of races spliced into an open world, and it didn't feel quite right. Here it feels like they've meshed loads of tracks into a world.
Right. It's
just a problem that their games have always had for me, is that they've sort of set you up to just smash into things all the time through the sheer speed. I think what makes this game frustrating though, whereas maybe you gave it a pass, is that it's big long animations of you crashing, and because they've got the licenses, the damage models aren't as spectacular as maybe they were in the Burnout games.
Right, I see, okay.
Where bits are splintering everywhere and you had sort of the after-touch control and you could steer it into the path of other races.
Yeah, okay.
That said, for all that negativity, it's a really slick put together, and if you've got some friends you can play online with, it's really great fun sort of jumping sort of quantum leap style from game type to game type. Sort of 1 minute you're on a race, and then as soon as you pass the finish line you're going back and trying to crash the other races for extra points. Then you're doing a drift challenge, and if you've got up a big score, the emphasis immediately turns to disrupting other people's things. So there's never a moment where you put the pad down. It's a really engrossing open world racer, but I think it's unfortunate to come out the same year as Forza Horizon.
Yeah, I was going to say, in a lot of ways, because I've been playing a bit of Forza Horizon, and in a lot of ways it sort of reminds me, it's in the same ballpark as that, but with Forza Horizon you've got like the real feeling of kind of freedom and unfettered, the roads, even though there's traffic on the roads, you can absolutely blam it along and not feel like you're in danger of your sort of your game being coming to a halt really quickly, whereas maybe that's not so the case with this one. Or
I think you're right. I also think it's got a nicer vibe, that sort of Colorado Sunstreak thing. I mean, there is a large amount of visual variety in this game. You go straight into canyons and air hangars.
I mean, it looks lovely. Visually, it looks really nice.
It does look lovely, but it's nowhere you haven't driven around before, whereas Forza Horizon offers something visually quite different. So it was a disappointment for me, to be honest, because I do love Criterion's races, but I think they need to look at some of the fundamentals of what they're doing, because obviously they can make these really polished games.
Do you think their future should lie in less open worlds, more restricted, sort of track-based?
I like how they do open worlds. I just think that the problems aren't, because last year's Hot Pursuit had a lot of the same things. So I think they need to look at how clear the visuals are. Because they've got everything else. I mean, it handles beautifully, this game, really nippy, sort of a lot more so than the quite heavy Hot Pursuit from 2010. I think they're nearly there, but this has been a disappointment for